It's my feel-good breakfast show.
Welcome back. You tune into your Feel Good Breakfast Show. This is a Monday morning. Time for some relationship talks on your Feel Good Breakfast Show this morning. Now, we know the mother-in-law jokes. We've seen Jane Fonda be Jennifer Lopez's monster-in-law in that movie. We've also had that uncomfortable beer with, the wife's father. Now, giving us the evil eye, of course, because we just stole his little girl from him. But issues with the in-laws can be detrimental to our relationships, and you can't actually choose your in-laws, and you probably will never change them as well. So how do you manage them exactly? How do you manage them accordingly? Now, with us here this morning to discuss this very, very heavy topic this morning, Dr Charissa Bloomberg, and we'll also be answering some of your questions. Give us a shout, 083 9133 728. But before we get to chatting, firstly, let's head to the streets and find out some of your comments on in-laws and how do you handle it?
I think when people don't get along with their in-laws, it's a problem. You love somebody and obviously they come as a package. They have a family as well. They love that family. And so you've got to work at maintaining those relationships.
I think every situation's different because I believe that a few things you have to let slide in their favor. But then other times, I think if you want to keep a strong relationship with your partner, you need to keep some of your boundaries as well.
Yeah, if we have a problem, we usually wait until we find a solution, or to find middle ground, or one partner change his mind.
Getting along with your in-laws is not something everyone does, eh? It's obviously different situations, different results, make it work, they're there, so you want to deal with them. You made the decision to stick with your wife, so they're thick or thin, they say.
Well, we talk about it probably, and then try and figure out what are their, what are the things that we disagree upon, and then talk about it. And then there are some compromises that come along where, my in-laws will have to say yes, and I'll have to say yes, and then just keep it going.
Well, if I don't get along with my in-laws, I think the easiest thing to do is just not visit them.
Fortunately for me, we get along quite well, I think. So I can relate to that.
All right, and there was your comments. So basically find common ground and a lot of compromise as well. Dr Charissa, thank you so much for joining us this morning.
Thank you, Ewan. Great
Interesting topic, eh? Interesting topic. The in-laws. I mean, it's always, I think it's an interesting one to navigate, especially if you don't get along with your in-laws.
Exactly, and everyone universally has in-laws, so it's a huge topic.
No wonder those mother-in-law jokes as well. You know what? Okay, so firstly, as a son or daughter-in-law, I mean, what exactly would you say are those obligations towards your family-in-law, basically?
Okay, we must be careful that every different culture has different rules of engagement, so let's be mindful of that. But I think everywhere, across all cultures, we have to be respectful of them. We have to invite them to grandchildren if they are. We have to invite them to events. And we have to be careful what we say.
Of course,
clearly.
Yes. Because you can't go about with your in-laws the same way you go about your parents. I mean, that is a difficult one, and I think that's where the tough one comes in, because you're so used to dealing with the way your family functions, and now all of a sudden there's a new family, and which is different. Maybe they do things completely different, and it's very easy to overstep a boundary.
Exactly so. And they have different values and different way of doing things. So we must always just ask. And sometimes it's a lifetime to actually get it right.
It does.
It
because
really can.
Things evolve. I mean, there's, life changes. So children, throwing them into the mix, things change again.
Absolutely.
But I mean, in terms of the involvement in, of family-in-laws with your own relationship with your spouse, I mean, how deep should that involvement go, would you say?
That's a good question. You know what, we need to speak to our spouse, our partner first, and actually find out how are we going to engage with our in-laws. Do they call every day? Do we take the calls? Do they give 24-hour notice? Just what are our boundaries? And you need to get that right with your partner first.
Okay.
Crucial.
So how do you talk about boundaries? How do you go about setting those boundaries so you don't really hurt, your parents, going forward? Because, like we said, it could be quite a sensitive issue, something that they might think, but this is really insignificant, what you guys are asking.
Yes, exactly. I think it's all about communication, and it's about assertive communication, and it's about putting it across directly and honestly. this is the way we want you to work. We'd please appreciate it if you actually respect that. This is how we want to engage. And especially if your child has special needs, special food it needs to have, special ways you want to behave, you know, you want the child to behave.
Yeah.
There's quite a lot to take into consideration and to put across.
There is a lot. That's why we're opening our
communicate.
lines this morning as well.
Yes.
0839 33728. Give us a shout. It is a rather big topic we're talking about this morning.
Yes.
Should you feel guilty for not liking your in-laws? Because, I mean, you don't always have to like your extended family, but should you feel guilty if you don't like them?
I want to say no. Okay. Bearing in mind if you haven't created any of that toxicness,
Yes.
if you haven't been rude, you haven't been angry, you haven't lost your temper, you haven't banned them from seeing the children, but we don't always get along with people and we don't choose our family. So, you know, not every single personality gets on and there's clashes. So don't feel too guilty, but try and work it out because otherwise, you know, you're putting your poor partner in the middle.
Exactly. All right, well, we're going to continue with this topic this morning. If you have any questions you would ask our relationship expert this morning, Dr. Charissa, feel free to call us 083-913-3728. We would love to hear from you. Let's find out what is still happening on your Feel Good Breakfast Show.